So welcome back. Here we are again for session 3, and today and this week our focus is very much on the story and the book that tells the story, and we give this book a special name. It's called the Bible, or the Scriptures, and in the Bible we find the stories about God and the stories about God's people. I'm actually standing at a piece of furniture which is called a lectern, and you'll see some drawings of lecterns in your workbook. This is a brass lectern, although it currently has a green hanging on it, because it's the time of the year when we use the green colour. But you can see the actual lectern itself, which is like a book stand on a long leg. And back in the days of the Roman Empire, this is where the town clerk in the Roman Empire would come and make the announcements for the people of the city. So when the city halls got taken over to become churches, when there were too many Christians to fit into people's houses, of course, when they came to the lectern, they would read the story. They would read from the Bible. One of the things that's really important about the Bible is that, yes, it's talking about God, but actually, although it's talking about God, it's not talking about God as some abstract, philosophical kind of theory. The Bible talks about God by talking about God in people's lives, in their individual lives, in their family lives, and also in their communities' lives. And so when we open the Bible, we're expecting God to talk to us, but we're expecting God to be real to us in amongst the people who are part of our everyday lives. We're just, very briefly, we're at the smaller lectern that's in the chapel. But on this small lectern, you can see we have a very large Bible. You can see how big it is by comparing it with my hand when I put my hand on there. This is a Bible which we use in the chapel at the cathedral every morning and every afternoon as we gather here for morning prayer and evening prayer. So it's a much bigger Bible than you would ever use at home, but it's a really good Bible to use here because it has such large print. At this point, we're focusing on a special part of the Bible. It's called the Gospels. The Gospels are those parts of the Bible which talk to us about Jesus, and it's actually an ancient Greek word. It comes from an ancient Greek word that means good news. And because the Gospels are so special, and because the Gospel talks to us about Jesus, we have the readings for the Gospel for each day on a special page in this book. And when we're at the Sunday Eucharist, the priest or the deacon who's going to read from the Gospel will pick up this special book. They will have already carried it into church at the beginning of the service in the procession. They'll go and get the book, and they'll have some candles leading the way and maybe a cross, and they'll go down into the middle of the church, close to all the people, and all the people are standing up. Because when the gospel book is brought down into the cathedral, it's like Jesus himself has walked down to talk to us and to tell us something that we need to hear. I've got 2 other books here on this little altar as well. One is a Hebrew Bible and the other is a Greek Bible. And the reason for that is the Bible was not originally written in English. This is the very first page of the Bible from the Hebrew writing, from the Hebrew book of Genesis. And you can see the writing looks very different. It goes from right to left, and it's written in letters that we probably haven't been learning at school. Let me read the first sentence, Genesis 1, chapter 1, verse 1. Bereshit barach Elohim et hashemayim va'et haaretz. That doesn't sound like English, and it's not, of course. It's Hebrew, and that's the language of the first part of the Christian Bible, which we get from the Jewish people. Then we come across here to this Bible, and on one side of the page it's English, but on the other side of the page it's Greek. So this is beginning of John's Gospel. And let me just read you the opening sentence out of John's Gospel in Greek. en arche ein hologos, kai hologos ein proston theon, kai theos ein hologos. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. Okay, there's one last part of the cathedral which is very closely connected with the Bible that I'd like us to talk about briefly. And what I'm referring to is a piece of furniture called the pulpit, and you can see it there in front. It's where the person who's giving the sermon, the person who's preaching, it's where they go to stand while they do that, so they can be seen and heard more easily by everybody in the cathedral. So come with me. Most of you will not ever get a chance to stand inside a pulpit, but I want you to come with me now as we move up into the sanctuary. You can see the high altar and the beautiful stained glass windows ahead. We're going to come back to the nave altar, the special chairs and the altar that we use for our everyday services. You can see some of the amazing organ pipes here, but we're going to go up the little steps to take us up into the pulpit. And as you can see, when you're up here, you actually have a really good view of everybody in the cathedral, and of course they can see and hear whoever is up here much better than if they were simply standing down on the floor below. And this is where the person comes who's going to unpack what we heard in the Bible and talk with us about what that part of the Bible today means for our everyday lives.